Fellas, welcome back to week 11, Cherry Pickin, presented by Owner's Box. I shouldn't really say fellas, there's only two of us here. As you see, our self-proclaimed goalie expert is not here. He has some things he has to take care of on the personal side, so just be Brody and
I think he knew another loss was coming, right? Or is it 4-1 now? We'll get into that in a minute.
Yeah, I mean, he did definitely have a tough look in a lot of things in his record coming up, and his picks this or last week. Cool. If I was him, you're right, I probably wouldn't have come on this week. Not to jump too far ahead of that, but we'll dive into that in a few minutes. But we'll get into the tough look segment right here. We're going this week. It's kind of a 50-50. I'll let Brody have his opinion on what he thinks, or what view I guess he'd be on as being a tough look. I'm going with the NHL is a tough look for completely firing Tim Peel for his comment that got caught under his hot mic in the Detroit-Nashville game, saying that he basically made a makeup call in the game. I mean, he literally said, it wasn't much, but I wanted to get a fucking penalty against Nashville early in the period. I mean, it's part of the game. Like, I played hockey, again, not like a super high level, but like, you know, you're going to call things at certain times. You want to kind of manage the game. That's kind of been around for a long time. I feel like a lot of refs try to do that. Obviously, they don't want to hear them say it on a hot mic. But, I mean, his resume, he's done basically just under 1,400 games, like regular season games. He's had 90 playoff games. He refed in the Sochi Olympics. Like, he's a 22-year veteran. And, I mean, to just gas him like that when he was going to retire, I think, in April, and not give him a good, you know, final kind of show-off, or I guess light standoff, or whatever you want to call it. His recognition for his last game, or guys actually, you know, maybe give him a stick or a jersey, things like that, I think is pretty ruthless. I think, you know, if you had an employee for that long and he makes a mistake that, yeah, it is glorified and it is on a mic and it is nationally seen. I mean, give the guy some kind of break, maybe let him get suspended, and then let him have one last game to kind of, you know, show what he's done and how he's helped the NHL, and give him that send-off that he deserves. Brody, I don't know if you have anything to touch on that, or if you feel you're with my opinion, or maybe you feel it's a tough look on him, like maybe.
I'm definitely more on your side here. I think it looks bad on the NHL. I think the only reason, like, the game management thing is a whole nother issue. I know a lot of people are against it. I know people think they should just call the rule book the way it is. I'm kind of more on that side in general. Like, I get why, you know, there's makeup calls if guys dive, and I get why, you know, as games kind of get closer right at the end, they kind of put the whistle away, especially in playoffs. Like, I understand the reason for it. But the thing is, they don't, and it's not just Tim Peel. I think that's where the NHL, in my opinion, is screwing this up. Like, you know, every ref is doing this to a certain extent. You see it. If you watch the games, you know what's happening. And I think it's just, he got kind of caught, unfortunately, on the hot mic, doing something that it's definitely not just him. So I think it's a tough look for the NHL. They kind of sewered him. He's in that bad spot. And they're kind of making him that sacrificial lamb. That's my opinion on it. Like, I haven't heard anyone say like he's the only one doing it. I think the only tough look for Tim Peel is this kind of brought up that Twitter clip I saw of a dump in puck that hits off of him, goes into the net on Luongo, and Luongo just losing it. So I think that's kind of the only part that this kind of resurfaced, another whole issue entirely. But that clip kind of got another round on Twitter, another round on social media. But no, in regards to him actually getting fired, like for what he did, I think just because you know what's happening around the league, like it's unfair. And I get your point, maybe a suspension, and you make a point and you kind of show you're going to move away from this, but it's happening on a nightly basis with every single ref.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's hard. I think the clip of him getting hit, I think he gets hit right in the nuts. I think it goes off on it. It's something really weird. But yeah, definitely a tough look there as well for the 2-for-1 here. But yeah, I mean, then this week the Leafs played the Sens, and Eric Verlat, who's obviously a referee in the NHL, he was talking to Simmons about a call. It was a blatant, my opinion, Simmons got blatantly tripped, and he didn't call it. And as he's talking to him, he's covering his mic, and then people gave him backlash. It's like, well, what are you hiding? Like, what? But if they're going to make these very rash decisions and saying, you know, Tim Peel, you're done, I don't understand why people can get mad at Eric for that, for not having people hear what he's saying. Simmons knows what he's saying. He knows what he's saying. We don't need to hear every conversation that goes on in the game. If that was the case, way more guys would be getting in trouble. We're in a time of cancel culture essentially. And like, it's a lot right now because everything offends anyone. And, you know, it's just a tough spot for anyone to be in. So I completely understand that, they don't want to listen to what he's saying, and you cover your mic. But fuck, it's a tough look either way. We'll move in to an even tougher look, which we could use this as a segment. But Jer, who again not on the pod or segment, but his picks. I mean, he went off the board with Drysdale. That was tough. He averaged one fan point in his last 3 games, so not a good one there. And his plug, same thing, wasn't actually as bad. Couturier, he averaged 16 points or fan points in the last 3 games with 3 goals, 2 assists in 3 games played this week. So actually pretty good. You probably should have phased him again.
Just flip the order, and Jared would have had a great week, right? If you just make Couturier your stud there and tries to plug.
And he's done that the last few weeks. So if you're looking at following our segment, I would definitely be taking Jared's plugs, like Brody said, as studs, and his studs as plugs. We'll go into you, Brody. You had Ryan O'Reilly and Mark Scheifele. O'Reilly was the stud. Scheifele was the plug. O'Reilly obviously didn't have the best week. He started off hot with a big game, and then obviously they're playing tonight, so you never know. He could come in clutch with you, and maybe a huge night. But Scheifele, he didn't have his best week, so that's not a bad call to say he was a plug. He didn't perform up to what maybe he should be, but definitely not the worst. But then we move into the goalies, and this is where it's tough. I feel like if Jared was on to kind of maybe, give himself some support in an argument, I may give him the W, but I think, like we talked about earlier, you're making the point that he didn't pick Talbot.
Yeah, so here's the thing. Jared goes, what's the other Minnesota goalie? I can't. Kakkonen?
Kakkonen.
Yeah, so he says fade him. And then you kind of goad him into saying, fade a bad goalie, good call. And then he says, well, no, okay, start Talbot. So like, it's not like Talbot had a great week. Both our goalies went undefeated. Talbot had a better week than Campbell, obviously, with the 3 wins and bigger point totals. But I don't think that was his pick. So I don't think you can give him the win on a guy he didn't actually pick.
Yeah, I mean, in a sense of points for our viewers, if they did follow that, Talbot did technically beat Campbell. But I agree. I mean, if he's not gonna stand behind his pick and actually commit to it 100%, he's playing that 50-50 card where he gets out of it either way. I don't think we can give him the W. He's not on to even discuss it or support himself. So I say fuck him. We're going. Brody, you get the W. I think that gets you 4-1 now.
I think 4-1. 4-1.
Yeah. And he might come on and last week he self-proclaimed himself as the goalie expert. Blah blah blah. Well, Jared, if you're listening, make your pick correct. Make it stand. Print it. Sign it. Seal it. Deliver it. Don't be in and out of things. All right. So from that, like I said, our hockey expert continues. Brody does well. We'll kind of jump into this week. In the player edition of Studs and Plugs. So we'll go with you first, Brody. Who's your stud this week?
Yeah, so my stud, you might laugh at it because it's obvious. I get that. I'm going with Mika Zibanejad, where he's had the 2 big 6-point games against the Flyers, so everyone knows what's going on with him. Other than that, it's not been a great year for him. But it's not just he's a known guy. Earlier in the year, people talking potentially top 20 again, top maybe even 15 fantasy player. So he's definitely fallen off that. And on Owner's Box right now, in the last month, he's been getting drafted 47. His ADP is 47.24. So he's in play potentially if you want to reach a bit in a 4-man league as your last forward, or if you're playing an 8 or 16-man league. I think he's definitely viable there. The reason I like him this week is they've got 3 games and 2 of them are against Buffalo. So we all know how the Sabres are doing this year. Easy matchup right there. And then there's other games against Washington, which, looks like a tough matchup on paper. And, maybe it is for the Rangers as a team, but Washington is right in the middle of the league in that goals against average per game metrics. So it's not like they're not, winning games through that 2-1 or 3-2 type. They're giving up more than 3 goals a game. You can score on them. So I think Zibanejad's got 3 real good games. Rangers are, his lines looked a little better of late. I know the underlying analytical metrics look a little better for that first line in New York. So I'm going with Zibanejad this week. Hot off his 6-point game, I know, but I think he's.
How many goals does he have this year?
How many goals? I know he's got 27 points now. I think it's right around there in 36 games. I'll bring it up as you speak. As you start chirping the pick, I'll get the actual numbers.
I'd love to hear him because he has 2 natural hat tricks back-to-back against Philly. I think if they were playing Philly, I think he's an absolute stud. They're not playing Philly. I think Buffalo, as bad as it is, I think they're going to get a win. And I'm not saying they're going to shut out a team, but you know what I mean? I feel like
it's a hot take.
They almost get the added pressure of teams coming in. You look at the Bruins, I think last night, they almost lost to them. Like, it's just like, we don't want to be that team that loses to Buffalo. We don't want to be that team that, so like, I feel like teams coming in, there may be that. I don't know. He hasn't been super consistent this year. And I think, like I said, if they're playing Philly 3 times this week, I would say, dude, get him. Stud. But I'm a little skeptical on how he'll be. Like I said, his consistency. But, and I think once you pull it up, I don't know, a third of his goals.
11 goals Philly this year, 27 points in 34 games. So I was right on the 27 points. I didn't have the goals up. He's underperforming for the year with 2 6-point games, as crazy as that is. But
yeah, so he has half his goals, more than half his goals are against Philly. And then his points, he has 12 points against them. So almost half his points are coming against Philly. This is what I mean, is that I think if they're playing Philly, he's good, but I don't know. I guess we'll have to see.
We'll see. Who do you got for your stud? You're filling in for Jer, right?
Filled in for Jer. And I think, honestly, if I do well this week, I might just replace him because he's not helping any of our listeners. I'm going to go with Landeskog. He's right now, his ADP is 46.22. So definitely that's on owner's box, obviously. He's definitely looking to, maybe if you're picking him up in a 8-16 man type of thing, definitely a good pickup. You could stretch him to in the 4-man too if you think he's gonna have a good week. The nice thing of why I like to pick him this week, he's got 4 games. I think they could obviously going to heat up. He's averaging 12 fan points in his last 3 games, and I believe they play some easier teams too. I think they play. Let me just look this up quick.
They've got the Blues games where I know the Blues definitely aren't playing good right now. So
exactly,
I get that. Exactly. I get the reason behind it.
Yeah, they play Anaheim, Phoenix, or I guess Arizona, not Phoenix, and then St. Louis twice on a back-to-back. So we all know St. Louis is struggling. Anaheim's kind of a younger team. They're good here, but they're bad there. And I think overall, the Avalanche is a wagon. I think they're a pretty big cup contender. So I think they're going to get hot. And I mean, I think there's no reason why he can't do that as well. And I think it's a good time to maybe pick him up and get him as a stud.
I like it. Only thing I'll say, and this is again for my pick. So if you're going Landeskog at 46 ADP and Zibanejad's there at 47, you have your choice of them in owner's box drafts. So one's got 4 games, one got 3. Obviously, if you're not familiar with owner's box, we make up for that difference just by the format. So we can do a direct comparison by the end of the week and see, who had more points per game. I think they're right in that spot where I like Landeskog. I get the reason. I just think at that spot, and I'll give you it's a good pick. He was kind of one of the people I was considering, but I like Zibanejad more. I'll give you some credit and we'll see how it goes.
What do you want? You want to put down a wager? If I win, I get
what are we going here? How much money you got?
Or what? Oh, we're going money. We're going bills. Okay. All right. You name the price, buddy.
All right. Let's go easier. We'll go $20.
Beautiful.
There you go.
Go Avs. Go Landeskog. Hopefully McKinnon sets them up all week. $20.
Alrighty.
Let's go. I don't know. Beauty. All right. Well, I guess to get into that, we'll go into the plugs. Who's your plug this week?
Yeah. Okay. And I know you're gonna chirp this. And plug's probably the wrong word. This guy should not be called a plug. But for the purpose of this segment, I'm going with Sidney.
Don't
Crosby.
save yourself.
Yeah, Sidney Crosby, going just off of where he's kind of getting drafted on owner's box. So his ADP is 22.42. So if you're in a 2-man league, potentially right at the end of that, you're taking him. 4-man, any other bigger one, he's 100% getting taken, which that's kind of right in line. That makes sense where he's going. I get it, but I just think this week is a tough week for Pittsburgh. So it's everyone kind of on Pittsburgh I want to avoid for the week, whether it's, Crosby, Gensel, Letang, or Malkin, anyone that's kind of draftable in these formats, I'm avoiding. They have 3 games. They have 1 against the Islanders, 2 against Boston. The Islanders are 3rd in goals against per game. Boston is 4th in the league. So you're playing 2 real good defensive teams. That division is wild to me. It's so good. It's, it's tough. There's 5 teams that should be in the playoffs there, and only 4 spots, unfortunately. So they're all kind of important games right now where no one's letting up. No one's taking off an off night right now, where I get Crosby and I get, he could go off. It can happen. He's a top tier player, but I don't like Pittsburgh this week. So that's where I'm going with that pick.
Yeah. And you hit the nail on the head there with you saying I'm going to dislike it. I think it is an absolute disgrace that you'd call him basically a top 3, arguably Canadian hockey player at plug at any point. And it's not even like he's doing that bad right now. I mean,
no, he's hot. He's hot. I'll admit it. He's hot coming in.
So you're just hoping that, like, and I know he's played Buffalo twice in the last 3 games, but he has 2 goals, 5 assists, or 7 points in his last 3. Again, I know against Buffalo, but he's the type of guy that he rises to the challenge. And like, they got some big games. He played Boston twice this week. Boston's struggling. I don't know if Rask will be back in by then, but I mean, I think he's gonna. I think it's tough just to get him as a plug. I think he leads that team. And I think that, you know, at the end of the week, I throw a 20 on that he turns out to be a stud this week, not a plug. But I mean,
well, you're going pretty like, I throw out a hot take for the fans. You're going pretty cold here, so I don't think we can't do a comparison on these ones. But
no,
we'll see. I just think right around 20th, like, there's guys I would rather have when we're talking about, you know, Scheifele is going right in that range too. I'd take Scheifele over Crosby this week. Like, I don't think that's crazy.
Last week, Scheifele was stable to your bench. Hey, so
yeah. Things change, Jake. Like, things change.
Hey, and that's all that can happen. You're the hockey expert, so you got to go with that. But those are my 2 cents about it. I think it's a disgrace that you call Sidney Crosby a plug. I'll definitely have his agent, or reach out to his agent and let him know that. I'm going to go someone a little different. I'm going David Perron. He leads the Blues in points. He has 33 in 34 games. So that sounds like, Jake, what are you doing here? That's not looking too good for a plug. But he hasn't scored in 6 games. They've lost their last 3. They play the Avs twice this week, so kind of contradicting my Landeskog stud. And, you know, he's 96.45 ADP. So, yeah, I mean, I'd probably stay away from him. I think the Blues are going through a struggle. Their goaltending struggling. I think that, you know, there needs to be some kind of change. And I don't think it's going to be this week, so stay away from him. You agree with that at least?
I mean, it's a very, very, very hot take you have there, Jake. So I'll give you some credit on going out on a limb there. No, I mean, yeah, I agree. They're playing Colorado. Good pick. I'm not going to give you much credit for it because, again, you know, you're not really going out on a limb on it. But like, no, I get the reasoning. It makes sense. I was surprised I knew since I looked last week that Perron is still kind of producing at that rate. But yeah, until St. Louis turns it around, not just the 2 games this week, you know, until they kind of turn it around again, I would be avoiding them as well.
Cool. Why don't you, like, because I know season long too, like, he only plays twice. That's a huge factor. I know you mentioned earlier about kind of owner's box figures out a way to help that aspect. You want to go through that to maybe some people that don't know how owner's box works, how they kind of help adapt that issue?
Yeah. So for people who are listening who aren't playing on owner's box, you're probably confused with how that kind of game limit works. Cause, you know, we're taking guys with anywhere from 2 to, you know, even 5 games in a crazy week, usually between 2 and 4. On owner's box, you're picking a team of 10 total players, and in that there'll be 5 forwards. And then you have a game limit throughout the week. So you have 16 total games where you can pick a forward with 2 games. That's completely fine. You just have to make it up with your other 4 forwards. Where it's okay in some cases, but, you know, if you're talking about Perron, who's already kind of a borderline pick, you know, in an 8-man, and, you know, only really like viable in a 16-man league on owner's box where there's 160 people getting taken. The two games does hurt you, because then you need to kind of find guys with 4 to make up that difference. So that's where we're talking about when we're talking about game limits, or emphasizing that it's because it's important over on owner's box.
Perfect. No, I just thought that'd be a good tidbit for people to know in case they weren't fully sure on what's going on. But yeah, I mean, I guess at the end of the day, we'll see. Like I said, you're the expert. I'm the new guy host, so I'm just throwing in picks here that I think are going to help people. But why don't we go into the goalie segment of studs and plugs? I'll let you lead off with your stud goalie. We can get in from there.
Yeah, for sure. So I have it's a start. I'm talking about Brian Elliott for the Philadelphia Flyers this week. Not necessarily on owner's box. I get he's, you know, his ADP, he's not getting drafted. He's getting drafted in, you know, 1-2% of contests right now over on our platform. So he's not a top guy there yet, and probably won't be. I'm talking more season long. Similar to kind of my reasoning for Jack Campbell for the Leafs last week, where you got another team that is having kind of a goalie controversy. It's still not kind of settled, just like it was in Toronto, but the indications are Elliott's the one that's winning right now. Carter Hart's losing. He's really, really struggling. The numbers are going way down. And Philly, who was off to a hot start to kind of start the year, they're on the outside looking in that tough division. You know, we were just talking about Pittsburgh, Boston. Yeah, everyone over there. Like toughest division in hockey. It kind of it's looking like. So they're in win now mode if they want to make the playoffs. And you can't really keep trying to get Carter Hart out of his hole. Where I think Elliott, if he starts getting some wins, or he doesn't even need to start getting the wins, like they need to win. And if they can't trust Carter Hart, you got to go with the veterans. So I think Elliott, he's 20% owned in season-long leagues right now. I think if you're looking for a goalie, he's definitely worth picking up, playing in his next few and kind of seeing if it works out the way, if you pick him up, you hope he plays great and he kind of becomes a guy. He's a steal because you get him for free, obviously. And I think he's worth that risk right now.
No, I think this is why you have this guy, this veteran leadership. He's been a goalie in the league for a while, been on multiple teams, and this is where you have him. Because when you're a young hot shot goalie, is going through ups and downs in his young career, this is why you pay this man the money to come in and be the backbone, and just say, man, everything's gonna be okay. I'll take the reins. Figure out your stuff in practice, do this, do that. And then when you're ready to come back in the net, you're taken back over again, right? So I like this aspect a lot. I think Elliott will run with it. I hope we do. I honestly don't mind the Flyers. I think it's better when they win. They're a fun team to watch. They're dirty. They score. They hit. You know what I mean? They kind of make dumb plays. It makes it obviously more fun. They're pretty bad defensively in a sense. But I like the fact that I think, like you said, if they need to make a push or want to make any kind of, they need W's. And this is, like I said, this is why you pay to have a backup that is better like this. And this is where this is where he earns his money. So I think that's definitely a good thing. And like you said, season long, picking someone up, not a lot of people have them. So it could be a huge deal if he does want to run. But yeah, no, I think that's good. And I think I'm sticking with kind of my guy in Pittsburgh. I'm sticking with Jarry. I mean, like you said, you were chirping. You
had to go with Jarry, eh?
Oh, I mean, that's been a kind of a messed up goalie situation all year after they had Fleury, they had Murray, they got rid of Fleury. Now they got rid of Murray. This kid's supposed to be the real deal. He's kind of struggled, but then got super hot. And I think he's going to run away with it. I think, like I said, we talked about their schedule. They played some weaker teams. They're playing Boston this week, and Boston's been kind of tough. I think, there's ideas for him where he can get W's. And they play 4 times this week as well. And I think it's a big week for Pittsburgh. I think Crosby's going to absolutely light it up. And I think Jarry's going to be the brick wall that's going to help them win games. I think we can do it. I mean, he's 43.18 AD on owner's box, and he won his last 2 starts. Like I said, not the top tier of like top 5 goalies in the league, but definitely this week he's going to be a stud, and he's going to help some people get some points, and he's going to help people win.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a shit pick. Obviously, with my stance for Crosby, I kind of have to go there. But the only thing I will say, I get, if you're the same reason I'm saying, don't pick Crosby. It depends where you kind of line up on that, if you trust Pittsburgh or not. But even if you kind of understand what I'm saying and agree with it, you can still, like, you wouldn't be picking Jarry. But I can get the idea. I mentioned Boston and Islanders, are very good defensive teams. Where Islander, like, then they're both playing well, but they're defensive teams, right? I know they're still in the upper half for goals, but they're not like Toronto, they're not like Tampa, where there's that worry of,
the running gun.
Exactly. So I get the idea that, they can be tight games where, Pittsburgh can pull out the 2-1 or 3-2 wins this week. So I don't agree with it. I don't like where you're going, but I can acknowledge what you're thinking. Like, I get it.
Yeah. I mean, I also have
still a shit pick. Like, it's terrible.
And I did draft him on owner's box. So I definitely don't want to go against my words, but no, I mean, at the end of the day, it is, and as long as I get ahead of Jared, like, if I can come in and just look remotely like I belong here, I'll be happy with that. You
Fair
can
enough.
take the
Yeah,
W.
it can say 4-1 and you can have a 1-0 record against me, right?
Exactly. And that's really, and I'll stay with that. I'll never participate in picks again. I'll just say I have 1,000%.
Get your 1-0 and just leave forever.
Yeah, and just coast. But no, I mean, other than that, we ran through it pretty good. I think hopefully it's a good week for us. Hopefully pick up a few more subscribers going off of our picks if we can get without Jared here, without having awful picks, god-awful picks, we might get some love. So do you have any comments, questions, concerns, or anything you want to mention in the next week or so?
No comments. No questions. I was just gonna say, let us know who you think think's gonna get the win here between me and Jake. Let's see it below in the comments. And if you don't agree with the pick, let us know. If you got someone you think, let us know as well.
Yeah, and I cannot wait to be holding the crisp 20 bill in front of my camera next week. I'm having maybe a glass of.
You're gonna have to ship it to you with your microphone, eh?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, hopefully, it got held up at the border. It's been 3-4 weeks of us doing this, and it still hasn't come yet. So hopefully, it finds the right location, and I can actually, speak properly next week as well. So, and try to help the fellas out that way. But no, I think that's good. I mean, really excited for this week. Hopefully, like I said, I think I'm going to win. But we'll go from there, and we'll tune in next Monday.
Absolutely. Alrighty. Have a good week, Jake.
All right, man.
We'll reconnect. We'll see.
It sounds good, buddy. Take it easy.